Everybody got problems. Life gon' test you, break you down, and put weight on your shoulders. But listen, stop running to people every time you feel pain. Half the world don't care, and the other half happy you got him. Real bosses move in silence. You don't tell people your problems, you solve him. You transform that struggle into strength. Most people do not realize that silence is one of the most powerful tools a human being can ever possess. In a world where everyone is quick to talk, quick to share, and quick to expose every detail of their life, the ability to remain silent gives you a unique advantage. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. When you keep your struggles, your frustrations, and your challenges to yourself, you hold on to control of your energy. You are not handing over the narrative of your life to outsiders who might never understand what you are truly facing. Talking about your problems endlessly does not solve them, it only magnifies them. Silence forces you to sit with your thoughts, to calculate your next steps, and to figure out the solution without the noise of outside opinions clouding your vision. The loudest ones, the people who constantly broadcast their pain, their failures, and their complaints to the world, rarely create anything of substance. They use talking as a substitute for action. But when you move in silence, you shift your focus from seeking sympathy to seeking solutions. You stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who can do nothing for you, and you start investing that time into building yourself back up. That is why the silent ones are the ones who build legacies. They are not distracted by opinions or slowed down by the need for validation. They carry their weight privately, and when they finally present their results, the world cannot ignore the work they put in. There is also a deeper psychological layer to silence. When you hold your problems in, you give yourself the space to study them. You begin to understand that a problem is not permanent, it is just a puzzle waiting to be solved. By not vocalizing your struggles to everyone, you give your mind the chance to process and strengthen. You train yourself to depend less on outside comfort and more on internal discipline. This is how resilience is built. It is not built by talking endlessly about what went wrong, but by staying focused on how to make things right. Your silence becomes your laboratory. Inside of it, you experiment, you learn, and you discover the answers you need without interference. When you choose silence, you also create mystery. People begin to wonder how you handle so much without ever showing weakness. They cannot figure out how you keep moving forward when they know life has thrown challenges at you. That mystery is power. It forces people to respect you because you are not broadcasting pain, you are broadcasting strength. It sets you apart from the majority because while everyone else is busy talking, you are busy building. Silence in this way becomes a shield. It protects your mind, your plans, and your future from those who might misuse the information you share. The truth is, not everybody wants to see you win. This is a lesson that many people learn too late. You may think the people you share your problems with have your best interest at heart, but often they do not. Some people smile at your face but quietly celebrate when you fall. Others pretend to give advice but secretly enjoy the fact that you are struggling. When you open up your struggles to the wrong people, you hand them weapons to use against you. They may not say it to your face, but behind closed doors they might share your story, twist it, or use it to justify why you will never make it. It is important to recognize that not everyone is qualified to carry the weight of your problems. Many of them are dealing with their own struggles and cannot truly help you. But beyond that, some people simply thrive off negativity. They love to hear about setbacks, drama, and pain because it makes them feel better about their own lives. When you tell them your problems, you feed their appetite for gossip. They are not motivated to help you climb out of your situation because your problems become their entertainment. You must understand that there is a difference between someone who genuinely supports you and someone who is just curious about your pain. Once you realize that some people do not want you to succeed, you begin to see why silence is necessary. Protecting your goals and struggles is like protecting your blueprint. If you share it too early, you risk letting people sabotage it, whether through direct interference or through planting doubt in your mind. Some people will disguise their envy as advice. They will tell you why your plan will not work, why your dream is unrealistic, and why you should give up before you even start. If you are not careful, their words can plant seeds of insecurity inside you. That is why it is better to keep your problems and your plans to yourself until you have already executed and built something real. This is not about paranoia, it is about wisdom. When you accept that not everybody wants you to win, you stop handing over your vulnerability to people who are not worthy of it. You realize that your problems are not meant for public discussion, they are meant for private discipline. Every challenge you face is an opportunity for growth, but only if you approach it the right way. Talking about it to the wrong audience only drains you. Solving it in silence strengthens you. By embracing silence and recognizing that not everyone is rooting for you, you shift into a position of power. You stop depending on others to understand your pain, and you stop expecting them to cheer for you in the midst of your struggle. You accept that your journey is yours alone, and that is where real growth begins. Every time you remain silent in the face of problems, you build mental toughness. Every time you withhold your struggles from people who would misuse them, you protect your future victories. In the end, silence and discernment become tools that separate those who live average lives from those who create extraordinary ones. Energy is one of the most valuable currencies you will ever possess, and how you spend it determines the quality of your life. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, and every problem you choose to share is an investment of that energy. When you spend too much of it speaking about your struggles to others, you slowly drain the very few you need to overcome those struggles. Protecting your energy means becoming conscious of where it flows, and guarding it from being wasted on conversations that do not lead to growth. When you sit down and pour your frustrations into someone who cannot fix them, you are essentially giving away a piece of your strength for free. The truth is, energy is like water, and once it leaks, it takes time to refill. If you are not careful, you will find yourself empty, wondering why you lack the drive to move forward when in reality you gave away your fire through words. There is also a spiritual weight to energy. People absorb what you share with them. When you complain or reveal your problems to others, you are not just speaking words, you are transferring vibrations. If the person listening does not carry wisdom, positivity, or genuine love for you, that energy may come back distorted. They may not offer you peace, they may simply absorb your pain and reflect it back as negativity or judgment. Protecting your energy requires discipline. It means you learn to sit with your challenges without the constant urge to unload them onto others. You begin to recognize that not every thought deserves to be spoken, and not every problem deserves an audience. Your energy is sacred, and when you respect it, you become stronger, calmer, and more capable of handling life's storms without being shaken. Every time you complain, every time you expose your weakness, you are handing over emotional currency. Some people will take that currency and spend it for their own benefit. They might gossip about you, use your problems as stories to share with others, or quietly rejoice in the fact that you are struggling. When you learn to protect your energy, you stop making those careless deposits. Instead, you save that energy and reinvest it into your goals, your craft, and your vision. You start to build instead of drain. Protecting your energy is not about being cold or unapproachable, it is about being intentional. You realize that your mind is like a bank account, and every interaction either grows your wealth or depletes it. Wise people do not waste their energy, they channel it where it creates returns. This protection also extends to your inner circle. Not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Some people appear supportive but carry hidden envy. They will act interested in your struggles, not because they want to help you, but because they want to measure how much stronger or weaker you are compared to them. By protecting your energy, you set boundaries. You decide who gets to hear your thoughts and who gets left outside the walls of your mental sanctuary. In doing so, you create a life where your energy is preserved for progress, not scattered through meaningless conversations. Turning problems into blueprints requires a complete shift in perspective. Most people see problems as barriers, as reasons to stop, as excuses to complain. But those who succeed view problems as instructions. Every obstacle carries within it the exact lesson you need to build the next level of your life. Instead of speaking endlessly about what went wrong, take time to study why it happened and what it is teaching you. Problems are not punishments, they are blueprints disguised as struggle. The key is to change your focus from talking about the weight of the problem to mapping out the structure of the solution. When you face a problem, do not rush to share it. Write it down, break it apart, analyze it. Ask yourself what the problem is pointing you toward. A setback in your finances might be the blueprint teaching you about discipline and money management. A broken relationship might be the blueprint teaching you about self-worth and boundaries. A failure in business might be the blueprint guiding you toward innovation and better systems. If you only talk about the surface pain of the problem, you will never uncover the deeper lesson it is trying to reveal. But when you study it in silence, you gain access to the blueprint that can elevate your future. The greatest builders in life are not those who avoid problems, but those who extract the plans hidden inside them. Think about construction. A blueprint is a detailed plan that guides every step of a building process. Problems function in the same way. They show you what is weak, what needs reinforcement, and what must be redesigned before you can reach stability. Complaining about a problem is like standing in front of an unfinished building and crying. Using it as a blueprint is like taking the broken pieces, reorganizing them, and laying a stronger foundation. The difference between the two approaches is the difference between people who remain stuck and people who rise. When you embrace problems as blueprints, you also shift into solution-based thinking. You train your mind to stop asking why me and start asking what now. That small change transforms your entire approach to life. Instead of drowning in negativity, you become a problem solver, a builder, a visionary. Each problem then becomes another opportunity to sharpen your skills, to test your patience, and to prepare you for bigger blessings. Talking about problems will never bring solutions, but studying them, Breaking them down and using them as a guide will give you the answers you need. The discipline of turning problems into blueprints also develops independence. It teaches you not to wait for others to rescue you. The moment you see a challenge, you no longer feel powerless because you understand it is simply a design waiting to be built. You step into ownership of your life. You realize that every problem is a chance to write the instructions for your own success. While others waste time venting, you are quietly sketching out the next move. While they search for comfort, you are building a map that leads to growth. Over time, this mindset makes you unshakable. You stop fearing problems because you know they only contain more blueprints for expansion. You stop complaining because you see no point in wasting energy on something that is already designed to elevate you. Protecting your energy and turning problems into blueprints become two sides of the same coin. One keeps your strength intact, the other uses your struggle as raw material for your success. Together, they transform the way you approach life, ensuring that nothing can truly break you, because everything you face becomes part of the plan that builds you stronger. Pain is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people run from it, hide from it, or waste it by complaining about it. What they fail to realize is that pain is not a punishment, it is a tool. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every loss carries within it a power that can either destroy you or transform you. When you embrace pain instead of wasting it on empty conversations, it sharpens you into something stronger. Just like fire shapes metal into a blade, pain shapes character into resilience. If you allow it, your struggle becomes your weapon. It becomes the very force that cuts through fear, doubt, and weakness. The reason pain can be turned into a weapon is because it creates awareness. When you go through struggle, you learn things about yourself that comfort could never teach. You discover how much you can endure, how patient you can be, how resourceful you can become. If you tell everyone about your pain, you dilute its power. You give away pieces of that awareness to people who cannot use it the way you can. But when you hold it close, when you decide that this pain belongs to you and no one else, it becomes fuel. It becomes a silent motivator that keeps you awake when others are sleeping, that drives you to work when others are distracted, that forces you to grow when others are comfortable. Pressure creates diamonds, but only if the stone can withstand the weight. Your pain is pressure. It is the weight life puts on you to see whether you will crack or whether you will transform into something rare and valuable. Talking about the pressure too much will not make it lighter. Complaining about it will not remove it. The only way to use it is to embrace it, to allow it to harden you, to allow it to refine you. When you shift your perspective from asking why am I going through this to asking what is this trying to teach me, you unlock the weapon inside the pain. You stop looking at struggle as an enemy and start treating it as a trainer preparing you for battle. Your pain can become your compass. It points out what matters most, where you need growth, and what areas of your life must be rebuilt. When you keep it to yourself, it guides you silently toward better choices. If you lose money, the pain of that loss can become the weapon that forces you to study financial discipline. If you are betrayed, the pain of that betrayal becomes the weapon that teaches you discernment and self-respect. If you fail publicly, the pain of embarrassment becomes the weapon that drives you to refine your skills until failure is no longer an option. Pain always carries instruction, and if you embrace it, you gain wisdom that comfort can never give. Think about how many people waste their pain by turning it into endless stories of struggle instead of building strength. They tell anyone who will listen about how life mistreated them, but they never channel that pain into action. Meanwhile, those who understand its power keep their mouths closed and their hands busy. They let the pain speak through their results. They build businesses, art, health, or legacies with the very struggle that others wasted. That is the difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise. Pain, when embraced, becomes a weapon. It sharpens the vision, hardens the will, and strengthens the character. The marathon is one of the purest metaphors for life. A runner in a marathon understands that pain's guaranteed. Blisters, fatigue, sore muscles, all of it comes with the territory. But the runner does not stop mid-race to announce every ache and injury. He does not pull aside strangers to explain how heavy his legs feel. He keeps moving because the finish line is more important than the discomfort. Life is the same. Everyone has battles, setbacks, and private struggles. But if you stop in the middle to explain your pain to everyone, you will never reach the destination. The finish line does not care about excuses, it only respects endurance. A marathon mentality means you accept that the journey will not be easy. You do not expect comfort, you expect challenge. When setbacks come, you do not treat them as reasons to quit, you treat them as part of the process. You keep running because you know the race is bigger than the pain. Every step you take while carrying your struggle is proof that you value the vision more than the temporary discomfort. This is the mentality that separates finishers from quitters. Quitters complain, explain, and justify. Finishers endure, adapt, and keep moving until the goal is reached. When you adopt the marathon mentality, you stop looking for immediate relief and start focusing on long-term results. You understand that success is not a sprint, it is a test of consistency. The ones who make it are not necessarily the most talented or the most privileged, but the ones who can keep moving despite the obstacles. A blister does not stop a marathon runner, it is just a reminder that he is still in the race. In the same way, problems in life are not signs that you should quit. They are signs that you are still pushing forward. The power of the marathon mentality is that it builds patience. In a sprint, the runner is focused only on speed. But in a marathon, the runner must manage his energy, his breathing, his strategy. Life rewards those who can pace themselves, who can endure long stretches without recognition, who can keep moving even when no one is cheering. If you stop every time you feel pain or seek sympathy, you will never build that patience. But when you keep moving silently, you train yourself to focus on the destination instead of the distraction. The beauty of a marathon is also that the finish line makes the pain worthwhile. When the runner crosses it, every blister, every ache, every sore muscle becomes part of the story of victory. In life, when you achieve your goals, every sleepless night, every setback, every struggle becomes part of your glory. The marathon mentality reminds you that the discomfort you feel today is temporary, but the achievement that waits at the finish line is permanent. Those who talk too much about their pain never taste that victory, because they spend more time discussing the race than actually running it. When you live with a marathon mentality, your focus sharpens. You no longer waste energy explaining your problems because you know explanation does not move you forward. Running moves you forward. Enduring moves you forward. Solving quietly and pushing through the fatigue moves you forward. In this way, the marathon becomes more than a race, it becomes a mindset. It teaches you that success belongs to those who are willing to endure the long journey without the need for sympathy or validation. People will always respond to results more than they ever will to excuses. You can tell the world about how hard life has been, how unfair your circumstances are, or how much you have suffered, but very few will truly care. Words of struggle may get you temporary pity, but they will not earn you respect. Respect is reserved for those who take the same problems, the same setbacks, the same pain, and use them to build something tangible. The truth is simple: people admire strength, not stories of weakness. They may listen politely when you complain, but deep down they are waiting to see if you will rise above it. The ones who do not complain, who put their heads down and get to work, are the ones who later walk into a room and command attention without saying a word. When you focus on results, you shift your energy from speaking to acting. Every excuse is a moment wasted. Every complaint is a deposit of energy into something unproductive. Results do not come from explanations, they come from discipline. People who get respect are not necessarily those with fewer problems, but those who refuse to be defined by their problems. They refuse to accept defeat and instead channel their struggle into building solutions. Once those solutions become visible, people have no choice but to acknowledge them. You never have to beg for respect when you produce results. Respect comes naturally because results cannot be denied. Excuses, on the other hand, do nothing but weaken your position. They create a habit of self-pity, a cycle of convincing yourself that your situation is unique and that your lack of progress is justified. But the world is filled with stories of individuals who came from nothing, who faced unbelievable obstacles, and who still found a way to succeed. The difference is that they focused on outcomes, not explanations. They understood that excuses may make you feel better in the moment, but results are what shape the legacy you leave behind. If you want to be remembered, you cannot be remembered for what you almost did or what you would have done if life had been easier. You will only be remembered for what you actually accomplished. Every time you talk about your problems without solving them, you add to the list of excuses. Every time you take a problem and use it as motivation to work harder, you move closer to results. People respect builders. They respect those who take pain, failure, and hardship and transform them into achievements. Even if they do not like you, even if they envy you, they cannot deny what you have built. That is the power of results. They silence doubt, they quiet criticism, and they turn your struggles into proof that you are stronger than every obstacle. This is why you must ask yourself daily whether your actions are leading toward excuses or toward results. Every choice you make is either a step toward respect or a step toward pity. The world does not reward pity. It rewards perseverance, focus, and execution. Choose to be the person who produces, not the one who explains. The difference between the two is the difference between living respected and living forgotten. Building respect through results naturally connects to the idea of legacy. Legacy is not about what people felt for you in moments of weakness. It is about what they remember when you are gone. If your life is filled with stories of struggle but empty of solutions, then your legacy will be one of excuses. If your life is filled with quiet endurance, resilience, and achievement, your legacy will be one of strength. The goal of life is not to gather sympathy, but to leave behind something that continues to inspire even when you are no longer here. Sympathy is fleeting. People may feel sorry for you for a day, maybe a week, but eventually they move on to their own lives and their own struggles. Legacy, however, is permanent. It lives in the hearts and minds of people long after you are gone. That is why it is far more important to use your pain as material for building something lasting than to waste it chasing temporary comfort. Legacy is built by turning silence into action, turning struggle into achievement, and turning pain into purpose. When you struggle in silence, you give yourself the best chance to create something powerful. The world does not need to see your battles, it needs to see your victories. Every moment you choose not to share your pain but instead to fight through it, you are adding bricks to the structure of your legacy. Over time, those bricks form a foundation so strong that nothing can erase it. People may forget your excuses, but they will never forget your results. They may forget your complaints, but they will never forget the empire you built in spite of those complaints. A legacy is not created overnight. It is built over years of consistent effort, often unnoticed, often unappreciated in the moment. That is why those who live for sympathy rarely build legacies. They spend their lives seeking recognition for their struggles instead of working in silence to create results. But those who value legacy understand that it is not about who claps for you today, it is about who remembers you tomorrow. That is why they remain quiet about their pain and loud about their results. Choosing legacy over sympathy also forces you to rise above the need for validation. You stop worrying about whether people feel bad for you, and you start focusing on whether you are building something they can never ignore. Sympathy is rooted in weakness, but legacy is rooted in strength. One fades quickly, the other lasts forever. You must decide whether you want people to feel sorry for you in the moment or to remember you for generations. That choice determines how you handle your struggles. The ones who choose legacy learn to endure silently, to keep pushing, to keep building even when no one notices. They understand that every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every challenge faced without complaint is an investment in something greater than themselves. Over time, the world will see the results of that investment, and it will respect the strength it took to build it. That respect will outlive sympathy, because sympathy disappears as soon as people find a new distraction. Legacy, once built, becomes impossible to erase. By choosing results over excuses and legacy over sympathy, you align your life with purpose. You no longer waste energy seeking pity because you know pity cannot feed your future. You no longer explain your problems because you know explanations cannot build respect. You keep moving, keep building, keep enduring until the work you have produced speaks for itself. That is the true measure of a life well lived. Every challenge in life is a test, and every test is an opportunity to show who you really are. Problems will come, pain will come, setbacks will come, but what defines you is not what you go through, it is how you respond. When you learn to stay silent, protect your energy, use your pain as a weapon, and keep running your marathon without stopping for sympathy, you step into a different level of power. People may doubt you, people may talk about you, but results will silence all of it. At the end of the day, excuses fade, sympathy fades, but legacy remains. The choice is always in your hands. Do you want to be remembered for your complaints or for your victories? Do you want to leave behind pity or respect? The answer lies in your daily actions, in your discipline, and in your refusal to let temporary pain distract you from permanent greatness. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Your time and energy mean everything. Stay focused, keep building, and remember the marathon continues.